All right, welcome to Waking the Kraken. I'm Wes Potts.
And I'm Alex Kahneman.
And Alex, do we have some news this week?
We got a little bit of news this week.
A tiny bit of news.
At least a little bit.
Quick news reference and stuff like that. So I'll go with first, I guess, since you went last time, I think.
That sounds good.
All right. So George Clooney this week took the highest paid actor position in the entirety of Hollywood.
Oh, really?
This week, yeah. He's making $2.39 million. He's the second highest paid celebrity of the entire year last year.
That's insane. George Clooney, huh?
George Clooney. The only person that's beating him out is Floyd Mayweather, the boxer.
That's fair. I mean, that guy boxes for money. That's
right. I mean, I think it's insane that it's $2.39 million and someone else is beating him by boxing.
I
mean, that's a physical achievement. That's the highest paid athlete that there possibly could be. But
yeah, he's the highest paid athlete of all time.
Right.
In history, that we know of. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So France wins the World Cup this year, 4-2.
All right, I won.
God dang it! Dang old Croatia, man.
We didn't wear obviously anything. I have Fly the Conchords, but New Zealand wasn't in it.
And I'm wearing a baseball shirt that's a band. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but go France.
Go
Congratulations.
France. Yeah, congratulations. It was their first. This is France's second World Cup victory in 20 years.
So I had a friend, actually, the first time that France won, about roughly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was in Latin class with him, and he was telling me he was in Paris whenever France won the World Cup.
Oh, yeah?
The last time they won the World Cup, they were in France.
Dang.
They were the home team. They won in France.
Whoa.
And stuff like that. He said he was in Paris, and they were flipping cars and stuff like
Dude,
that.
I don't doubt it, dude.
So it was
People get riled
it's
up.
nuts.
That's awesome.
All right, and finally, our bit of good news this week is the mountain gorilla population is not off the endangered species list yet, but it is steadily rising. In the past 6 years, it's gone from 480 mountain gorillas in the entire captivity of the wild to 602, which isn't really much. It's 122, I think, but still, the odds of that rising within 6 years, that's 122 little gorillas that have popped up in the past 6 years.
Yeah.
So
wow.
So at that rate, they should be making their way. If their homelands and stuff are protected.
Beautiful.
All right,
dude. So, what's been new this week?
Honestly, for me, I have my new blog thing up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Awesome. I've been wondering about that.
Yeah, I wrote about Mad Villain this week.
Okay.
And so there's that. It's I think its title is How Mad Villain Helped Me to Learn to Cope with My Past.
Right.
So basically, it's just the process of the idea of have you ever had a song that just catches you at the right time?
Oh, absolutely.
And
dude.
so it's kind of exploring that with the idea of me coming to terms with my past.
Right.
And so that's what I wrote about this week on that. Other than that, we had a wedding that we went to.
Yeah. Which was a good time.
If anyone looked at our Twitter last night, I posted up a picture of me and you from it.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So
yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I'm so bad about Twitter.
Happy wedding, Christian and Sarah. We're happy to have been there with you.
Yeah, it was a really good time, and you guys had a really beautiful ceremony, and I don't think that day really could have gone much better.
And the food was delightful. Plus, that sangria was awesome.
Dude, it was.
I have never had a better sangria.
That was pretty dang good, dude. It was. Plus, they had lots of fresh fruit that they were putting in it, so I think that really helps. And letting it sit in there, the whole.
Yeah, I think it looked like it had blood orange and strawberries. You could really taste a lot of those I thought it was interesting because you could taste a lot of the sour notes, and I think that was something that I really enjoyed. It still had a tartness to it.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. So,
what about you? What's new in Alex's world this week?
So, this week I went to the and I have rediscovered my love for sweating.
Oh yeah, something that I don't like.
Okay, so. When I was a kid, I used to, when I played baseball, I sweated a lot.
Right.
And I always just have. And I used to just, start sweating at the drop of a hat. And now I have, for, probably, say, the last several years or so.
Right.
Not really been, super, I'm going to go running and be active in the hot heat and sweat. And I don't really work out because I had to do it so much when I was a kid that I, was I'll wait till I get fat.
You got burnt out, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I just haven't really experienced, profusely sweating in a long time.
Right.
I sweated so much when I played baseball, I would have a brown jersey on, and I could make that look black. Like just the whole thing.
Oh, just because like it was just like drenched
Soaked
all the
in
way down.
sweat
Yeah,
and the whole
Did you
thing.
get that sweet V that everyone gets from like that you always see in the movies.
Oh, I'll get that first. But then about an hour later, that V literally overtakes
Does
the
it
whole
just go-
shirt, and it's
like
just one
the
color.
armpits and the V just combined together.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, like, dude, after one of the games that I pitched, like, I could wring the sweat out of like my jersey, like it took a long time. It was gross.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I've been doing that again, and because we've been experiencing like freaking 95-degree days.
And it's humid as shit.
And
That's
it's
the other
humid
thing.
as shit. So it's like 95 feels like the sun.
Yeah, it feels like a million degrees.
Yeah. But I've been walking around and just really trying to enjoy the sweating. And man, it's a good way to get rid of my coffee energy in the morning. I've been drinking coffee again.
I've been making my own iced coffee at home and stuff like that, which has been really nice.
That's interesting. I've been making cold brew coffee.
That's what I got in my cup right now. I want to try it.
I do.
So-
That's what I started my morning off with, was like, I'm going to drink some iced coffee.
Yeah. It's great. It's delightful.
That is good. That's real good.
But yeah, no. So like, so you've been running, or were you running, or what? Were you just like hiking, or
I've been
mountain biking? You could be extreme.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the theme of the week has been like I've been walking, I've gone running out in the heat, and I've been biking. But I mean, like biking on like trails. Like I don't have a nice bike by any means. It's just like a road bike.
Right.
And just a lot of spending more time just like trying to enjoy being outside and like allowing myself to do something that involves sweating and changing my life up a little bit. And it's just been a lot of fun to re-explore the outside, and especially going to dude, like yesterday I was there, and I ran into this gigantic crazy looking caterpillar thing.
Yeah.
I mean like it was like this big, and like it was so big and intimidating I was nervous about touching it. So I didn't.
Good. That'd be good.
I mean, yeah, but I took a video of it on my phone specifically because I was like, I've got to show this to people. So here it is. Man, those fucking spines on his head are radical.
Nobody better step on them. I almost want to take them off the path.
That was gross.
And we're back.
Yeah, right?
That was disgusting. Did you see the thing like right in there? It was just awful.
Yeah, man. And that was just on a walking trail. It was huge. I mean, it blew my mind, dude. We were freaking out. Like, I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
I'll have to show you because right now you don't have no idea what
I know.
I'm
I
talking
just
about.
basically did that all improv. But we weren't supposed to let them know that.
Well, you know what? Well, dang, whatever.
Here at Waking the Kraken, we want you to know the behind the scenes as well as the in front of camera moments.
I don't want to lie to anybody.
Except for some people.
Unless it's for like, I don't know.
I don't know why I would lie to anyone on this camera.
Well, yeah, that's
I think
true.
I would omit things
Yeah, I would just not tell you
because I have a
something.
personal life and you should stay out of it.
Yeah. What?
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Waking the Kraken.
Welcome to Waking the Kraken. So I saw something really interesting this week. Have you seen the trailer for the movie Mandy yet?
No.
It's a movie that stars Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
And it looks like the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a long time. It looks like a movie that was made in the 80s.
All
Because
right.
it's kind of like, at least like the trailer sets it up to look like it's kind of like that grainy kind of nature. And it has this weird, almost like Running Man feel from like Arnold Schwarzenegger
All right.
meets Evil Dead. It's about like witches, I think, or something like that.
All right. I'm kind of into it.
It's ridiculous. You'll have to watch the trailer. It's funny. It looks exciting. It reminds me of the excitement that I had whenever the trailer for Wicker Man came out, and all you see is Nicolas Cage just yelling "Bees!"
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah,
there's
yeah.
this one scene where he I guess he works with iron or something like that, because he just builds this gigantic hulking like silver axe, and he's gonna wield it, and it's just ridiculous looking. It looks exciting, and it looks like a movie that I don't think will be anything that's that great to write home about, except if you want a really exhilarating, ridiculous horror film.
Do you ever wonder when Nicolas Cage will decide to stop?
He never will.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
Like, obviously, he's produced so many different things that are good and bad that
Yeah.
it's not like he's embarrassed. It's not like he's going to Sean Connery and be like, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen didn't do very well. I'm just done with acting forever.
But I thought that movie was so awesome. I loved that movie. But see what the thing that gets me is, yes, because he has so many wins and so many just like utter losses that are like, how did you make this, dude?
Yeah.
Like, it's like he's the most exciting actor to go see, because it's like, this is either going to be so bad that I'm going to tell everybody, or it's going to be so good that I'm going to tell everybody.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's all you have.
I think, what was it? It was like, there's one local theater here that they were always closed on Sundays. And for a while, I remember they were doing Nicolas Cage movie nights with
really?
just the employees and a couple of their friends.
That's
They'd be
awesome.
like, all right, you're going to go see this Nicolas Cage movie on Sunday because so-and-so invited me to go see it. It was great.
I guess we are.
I guess we're going to go see it. Like,
Did you know, apparently, like on the set of Ghost Rider 2, he had like in the middle of filming like one of their
I'm going to
scenes-
stop you. They made a Ghost Rider 2?
Yes. Yeah. In the middle of filming it, like Nicolas Cage blew up and like had this huge fit because he realized how bad the movie sucked.
Yeah.
And all he was doing was complaining about how awful the movie was in the middle of the shooting day and just couldn't handle it. And then they still made the movie.
Right. Apparently. I didn't know that they made a second one.
I don't even know if it ever made it out. I just know that they were trying to make it.
Right.
And I mean, that article may have been the downfall that I read, years ago.
I don't know. I feel like what was it? Wasn't it Christian Bale who like just screamed at the cameraman on like the set of Terminator or Salvation or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was like the new Terminator, and that still made money, I guess.
That's
Like they
true.
still released that, even though he had that went viral. That
Yeah.
was crazy. Just how many people were like, Jesus Christ, what an asshole.
Yeah. Dude, and plus I always think about that. It's like, what if just because we weren't there, that's the only reason Christian Bale was the asshole? Like, what if there's-
like us personally, or just the audience?
yeah, the audience.
Okay,
Yeah, the audience in
Just like,
general.
I was like, this is gonna put my ego from 1 to 60.
No,
Wes Potts was there, so he stopped Christian Bale from being an asshole.
no. What I mean is like, what if there is like a detail or two that was happening earlier, or maybe like throughout the entire shoot leading up to this day, this cameraman's really been fucking off and messing things up.
Sure.
And just Christian Bale is just finally like, I am a professional actor and this guy is not doing his job at all, and I'm tired of this shit. I'm gonna blow up or whatever. I mean, I don't remember what happened, but
Right.
or what he was yelling at him for, but like I always think about that now whenever I see like an actor on like that's like, oh, here's what they were doing on set, and it's like, oh yeah, they're being an asshole, and it's like, well, you don't know that. You're not an actor. You don't know what that job's like or what the stress feels like or like the
Sure.
situation. Yeah.
I mean, sure, I can see how like an actor would be like, my job is very important, and I mean, obviously, you've got to get into a certain zone in order to portray another person.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do think that sometimes maybe they're not being completely team players because their name's on the marquee, especially when you get to a certain echelon. I don't really know of any actor that's been considered a diva when they were barely getting cast roles.
Yeah.
It's always like you hear about them being a diva or like intolerable to work with whenever they have a few really good ones, like if they have an Oscar nomination or
Right.
if they've been in critically acclaimed films or their name is attached to a certain kind of style.
Right.
And that's when they're like, oh, this person's... And I mean, yes, the more you get into any job, the more you expect everyone to do their job.
Right.
It's got to be terrible to like wake up in the morning, be in makeup, be in your trailer, constantly back and forth, having
Oh,
everything
yeah.
ruined. But also, camera work's really hard if you look at it. Like,
Oh, it's-
to
dude.
actually have a good cameraman has got to be really hard to succeed
Mind
at.
blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, like from what I have learned, just from having 3 stationary cameras, don't want to be a cameraman. Period.
Yeah,
It's not my.
especially like the ones that you have to like haul over your arms and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and like you're like trying to get in on a shot. Those are incredibly hard to use. I've only used them like I think once,
Yeah.
and like you shoot after shoot after shoot, like you'll get different inconsistencies every time. To actually have someone that can be consistent every time
Mm-hmm.
and capture it, it's just a matter of not understanding where that person's coming from.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah, that's totally true. Like there's this whole art form and like that's like and like the challenges about being a cameraman that Christian Bale may just be completely freaking ignorant.
well, yeah,
of.
he's probably never had to run. And I mean, not saying anything Christian, obviously. Like,
We're just
you
we're just-
could have done camera work. I don't know.
We're just
but-
speculating.
But as far as I know, you've never been listed as a cameraman on anything. And maybe you were having a bad day. Or maybe that guy was being a mouthy asshole. Who knows?
Who knows? It makes for great video, though.
It does. It makes for a great viral video, and your name will follow it.
And your name will follow
and that's
it.
probably why so many people are like, oh, we got to see what he fucked up on. We got to go to this and see like what the hell was going on.
Yeah, right?
So,
Oh, it would have been great if he was like the bad guy, and it was just like, oh yeah, that was like that just made the movie way more popular. They were like,
I wish he was the bad guy in that film. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in that film, but not in that film. It was
okay.
the one where they CGI'd Arnold Schwarzenegger because Arnold Schwarzenegger was still the governor of California at the time.
That's right.
So he couldn't act in anything because it would be considered like against the law or something like that with the way that like politicians can't be in certain things.
Well, yeah.
And so they just CGI'd an Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and he didn't say anything, but he was like old Arnold. Looked
That's
like
awesome.
fucking, like, you know, Hercules in New York Arnold.
Did he look pretty good, or was he like, oh, that's CGI?
I mean, at the time, I think he looked good. Now, if I look back on it, he probably wasn't that good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, in the movie theater, I was like, I could tell that was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Then again, the Terminator films have always been good. I mean, like, still, Terminator 2 holds up to this day with the liquid guy and stuff.
Yeah.
He's still badass.
Yeah, that does look really good.
So-
Like that's hard to do. Like getting, okay, think about like I think about this all the time when I watch that movie. It's like, all right, this liquid metal blob has so many things that play into making it look real that it's like, how could you even begin to like focus on how the light would be reflected off of a blob that is perfectly reflective?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, so you have to animate this thing into a scene that already has natural lighting, and you have to animate this lighting to be continuous with the natural lighting, but it's animated lighting.
Sure.
Now. And it's like,
Especially with all the
holy
fire
crap.
in that movie.
Yeah.
So
Like, it just blows my mind. Like, that's like a technical mastery of achievement there.
I do like that after that movie, though, Capri Sun stole that idea and just made all of their commercials have kids turn into these metal monsters that flew around.
That's right.
Like,
I remember that. Yeah. That was so weird. They like turned
they
into
would
the
drink
liquid.
it and then they would liquefy and then fly around like sentient blobs, and then they would just reform, and you're like, what is going on?
Capri Sun.
Capri Sun, man. And it made me drink so much Capri Sun.
You remember Squeeze-Its?
Yes, Squeeze-Its were cool. Like the Kool-Aid ones.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously
They
they're
had the
cool. They
little
were
plastic,
from Kool-Aid, yeah.
like Egyptian helmet on a bottle,
Yeah.
whatever those are called.
Did you realize that, like, okay, so you know, like, they had, like, that Egyptian-looking kind of, like, headdress kind of thing on the top of it.
Yeah.
It looked like that.
Yeah.
Looked like Tutankhamun.
Right.
But you know that little, like, kind of tail at the top? You know what that was for?
No.
It was so that you could put it back into the bottle and keep it for later. It would, like, plug the bottle.
Oh.
So, like, if you didn't finish it, you could just put it back in there and then turn, and it would, like, keep the bottle plugged, apparently.
That's awesome.
I saw, like, a thing on it the other day. It was ridiculous.
Dude, packaging is really incredible.
It's weird, and no one pays attention to it. Like,
Well, it's kind of like I'm sure everyone knows now, but it took me a long time to understand that the little circle that closes the Tic Tac hole on the lid, also if you flip your Tic Tacs upside down and then like break it, like the box and the Tic Tac away at the same time, there'll just be one Tic Tac nestled in there. So if you want to get one, you can just tip it and then kind of tip it back to open it, and you have one Tic Tac. And I was like, that's ingenious. Or fucking ketchup cups, dude, at restaurants.
oh, how they like peel open to make a
peel
plate.
them open, and you have this big old bowl that you can put like way more ketchup in. I love that.
Yeah, that's always ridiculous. Have you ever noticed that ketchup always tastes better in shop than it does like from any packaging?
Maybe it has something to do with letting it sit.
I don't know.
in
Yeah,
bulk.
it's like any time that I've gone to McDonald's and like they give me ketchup packets, it's never as good as just like pumping the ketchup and then
Dude,
it tastes
totally.
way better.
Yeah, the ketchup packets always taste like sour and like
They always taste
sweet.
like vinegar. They have
Yeah.
more vinegar, it feels like, in them.
Yeah. I totally get that. Do you remember whenever they were making the ones that were like the bottle that you
That
could
was
either,
awesome,
You could
where you
either
could, like,
dip it,
pop
or,
it open.
or pour or
Yeah.
squeeze it out. I loved that. Packaging,
Packaging.
dude. What happened to those? Do you think it was just too expensive?
I think it might have just been too expensive, or like restaurants didn't want to carry it. It's probably cheaper to buy like the thin little
I'm
packets that
sure.
everyone always
I'm
buys.
sure it is. That's so interesting. We live in such a weird world that we're like, oh yeah, we just take these little like plastic. Like we have like. Have you ever looked at a soy sauce packet and thought about that? Like this is literally liquid trapped in a plastic bag.
I always just find them hyper dangerous
Yeah.
because I feel like every time I'm about to open it, like there's always those ones that are a little bit harder, and like if you pull it a little bit too far, it's gonna spray everywhere.
Yeah. Dude.
Like,
Yeah. So,
so
like,
I always point it away from me and then turn that way it shoots at someone else.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Dude, freaking packaging.
Packaging.
All right.
Here on Waking the Kraken, we talk about the big questions.
The big questions.
Questions like packaging.
Does this package have more uses than I'm familiar with? Or does it just house the thing?
So one of my favorite shows from the 1970s is a show called In Search Of. It had Leonard Nimoy as the host.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I saw it all the time when I was younger on the History Channel. But it was just weird questions of like, I think that's where I first heard about the ancient astronaut theory and first heard about which I hate the ancient astronaut theory, but it's the first place I ever heard it.
Yeah.
They talked about Atlantis in a couple episodes. They talked about like other different kinds of just like unexplained phenomena and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was hosted by Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock.
Right.
I think it's really interesting. History Channel is bringing it back. And now its host is Zachary Quinto, who also played Spock.
Oh, that's really?
So I think it's really interesting that
that's
like
awesome.
They're just remaking a show and casting the same guy or a guy who played the exact same character. Because he was on Reddit today for an AMA. He's like, I'm Zachary Quinto. I'm hosting In Search Of on History Channel.
Yeah.
Ask me anything. I just thought it was a really cool like coincidence.
That is, I mean, do you think maybe that the In Search Of people were like, dude, we should get Spock to host it again?
I think that's it. I think that's part of the appeal is just like but it's funny because it almost feels like a movie that's being made about like Leonard Nimoy playing.
Yeah.
Like it's like Zachary Quinto once again takes up his role of playing Leonard Nimoy as something.
Yeah,
like,
right. That's good.
He's gonna be the like foremost expert on being Leonard Nimoy. Like,
He really is, dude. Like, next I'll have to make that Hobbit song.
yeah, he'll have to do the Hobbit song. And I loved the commercial whenever the new Star Trek, I think it was Star Trek Into Darkness came out, the second one. And they had, it was a commercial where like, Leonard Nimoy was like, hey, do you want to go on a golf trip? And then like he calls up Zachary Quinto and they both go get into the same car and they just like both say live long and prosper to each other and stuff. I'm like, double Spock rules.
Double Spock. Oh, man. TV is so strange. Like, I haven't thought about, what's it called? Star Trek? I haven't thought about that in so long.
I think about Star Trek a lot, apparently.
Last year, I was in the middle of watching through The Next Generation, and it was like a daily occurrence.
I know. Well, yeah, I remember you watching through all of it. You and Daniel watched a lot of it.
Yeah, we totally did, dude. Yeah, we watched a whole lot
I remember
of it.
me and you would watch a lot of it, too.
I just love that show, dude.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah, I love Star Trek. Like Star Trek to me is like character fantasy, where it's
Sure.
like you're really exploring the people within, like the universe is there so you can understand the people. Where like Star Wars,
Right.
which I would consider the like main contrast to it, would be like, okay, this is like space fantasy,
Sure.
where it's like all it is developing the story of the universe itself, not necessarily developing each little character and like giving you tons of time for them to blow up into this really deep, multifaceted thing. They're just like, this character goes through this change because it's necessary for the story, which makes this happen, which allows you to understand that this bigger picture is working this way. Like, Star Trek doesn't take all the time to like give you all the details about the inner workings of everything. They try to make it more of a like, you're a person on this crew.
I think the idea, though, is also like you can probably build a more in-depth universe with Star Trek just because it's predominantly a TV show.
Yes.
They have, I mean, and someone's going to get on to me for this, they have 6 or 7 movies.
Yeah.
But they're not a movie franchise initially. They were a TV show franchise that got 6 or 7 movies.
Right.
And so obviously, like with TV show after TV show after TV show, you can introduce new like aliens, you can introduce new backstories, you can just introduce things like the Borg and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And so I love Star Trek, but I also think the only thing I remember whenever you were watching like Next Generation was I got so infuriated that the colors of their uniforms meant nothing.
Dude,
I was
I know,
so mad about
I know.
it. Like every time I just got so confused and so mad about it.
Dude, you get like a whole amazing first season of Star Trek ever where the colors do mean something and are important and
Right.
play a role. And then you immediately go into, here we're at Next Generation, and it's like the second episode, they're all wearing different colors. And you're like, what the heck?
You're like, how is this a functional paramilitary unit at all? Like,
Yeah, and it's like literally the only person who wears the same color the whole time is
Worf. Does Worf wear the same color all the time?
Yeah, Worf is wearing because he wears red sometimes.
Oh, he does wear red sometimes. I was gonna say, 'cause mostly he's yellow.
Dr. Crusher. She's always wearing that blue color.
That's true.
She's the only one. That's the only one that stays.
And that was the thing. Is
blue.
like it was strictly in the old series, the original one, which I started off. It was like yellow was command, blue was science, red was engineering, and that's where you had it really and stuff like that. And so it just infuriated me whenever like I went there and there was nothing. But yeah, so like that was really my kind of dealing with it. Was I kept focusing far too much on like why isn't the colors matching up? How is this a thing? I really do enjoy Next Generation. I think the Borg like sequence and stuff like that is phenomenal,
dude,
and everything.
The Borg are easily one of the most terrifying like villains that have ever really been come up with to me.
Right.
Like the idea of like non-autonomous hive mind like society, like that none of them have individual or independent control over anything. They're all just working towards the same like goal, which is to just make their species better and better and better and better.
Right.
And like all that means is we're going through the world and we're going to steal all of the other life's technology and make our life the best.
Right.
And it's scary, dude. Like especially with like how perilous and hopeless they make the Borg feel. And especially having Q like bring him to the Borg early.
Yeah, well, and then like you get Picard that gets taken and everything like that,
dude,
which was crazy.
Yeah. Like, and that's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
Like seeing Picard and you're like, oh shit, he's just gone now. And it's like, no, we can get him back.
Yeah, we got
Thank
him back.
God.
Thankfully, Picard is probably one of my favorite captains.
I agree.
It's a hard, like half the time I'll say Kirk is my favorite, the other half I'll say Picard. I think I just like Kirk better because I started off with Kirk.
Well, yeah.
But, you know.
I prefer Picard because I think Picard's character is like a lot more intriguing.
He's more logical and rational, I find.
Yeah, but then like he'll like do these things that open up like who his character is. Like you know the episode where he goes back to France to see his family, and like he gets in that scuffle with his brother, and they're like weeping together. Like that scene was like so powerful to me that it made me like want to cry when I would watch it.
Right?
Because I was like, this is like the most human thing I've ever seen on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And it like that like I mean one that just shows like Patrick Stewart is like an
Patrick
incredible
Stewart's
actor.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him in a horror film a couple months back.
Okay.
He was in I think Anton Yelchin was in it and stuff too. It was called Green Room. Have you seen that?
No.
So it's about this punk rock band that's touring around. Anton Yelchin's in the punk rock band and everything.
Okay.
And he basically they get stuck across country. They're from like the East Coast. They're in the West Coast. I think they're in Oregon or something.
Yeah.
They get stuck across country. They need to make a certain amount of money in order to get the gas just to get home.
Okay.
And so there's this one kid at this punk rock show that they're going to, and he's like, hey, I can get you a place to play. However, the clientele's a little bit rough and tumble. And they're like, well, what's the clientele? And he's like, well, it's skinheads. It's Nazi punks.
Yeah.
And they really don't want to do it, but they need the money, so they figured they can just play a set and then just go home.
Yeah.
So basically, they go to this bar that's this like skinhead bar in the middle of fuck all nowhere.
Do you want to go to the Nazi bar?
They're going to go to the Nazi bar, and they're going to play some sets. So they do that, and then I guess somehow there's something where I don't want to give away all of it. But anyway, Patrick Stewart plays the head of this skinhead organization.
That's cool.
Which is just an insane thing for me because I never see Patrick Stewart as being a bad guy ever.
Yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart, the racist. the Scottish-sounding racist in Oregon.
I dubbed the Sir Patrick Stewart
of the Reich.
Prime Aryan example. Like...
Yeah, no, it's so like it was a really interesting. It was an intense movie, man. Like it was like
Green
this,
Room.
like Green Room.
That sounds really cool. Like what? Like so, are they like they're just a rock band basically?
They're a punk rock band.
They're a punk rock
so
band.
So one of the big things is like you kind of get this like edge for a minute when they were playing their set because they played Nazi Punks Fuck Off by the Dead Kennedys, and then they play a bunch of other things. And it was funny because like the skinheads in it were just like, yeah, we still liked hearing things and stuff. We're like, we didn't really like that one song, but everything else seemed really good.
yeah.
So
that's
you're like,
funny.
For a minute, you're like, these guys don't seem that bad, except that they're white supremacist.
Right.
Like they seem like pretty amenable, and they just wanted to get the guys the money and get out. But then like something horrible happens, and they have to keep them, and then it turns into this horror film.
Dude, it sounds like those YouTube videos we were talking about last week.
Where like everything goes from 0 to 60 and
Yeah,
races.
like
You're
immediately.
yeah.
Like, oh crap!
Like shit.
Oh,
Like now I
dude.
feel bad for watching this or even supporting this at all.
Dude, so I'm having this weird thing where like I am around you so much now from the video editing
Yeah,
that I feel like I've like seen you every day
that is weird.
because you haven't.
You used to see me every day.
I know, and so that's what it feels like. It feels like this conversation. I feel like is just like we've been having it
Right,
all
just
week,
every day of the week.
I mean, I've seen you twice this week already. Which
That's
is
true. You did like
magnificent now.
Yeah, we do see each other still quite often. But
yeah, but it's
but
been-
now you see me all the time on the computer.
Yeah, dude. And sometimes I'm just sitting there watching like the same clip over and over and over and over and over and over again, trying to figure out how to fix something or get the editing right.
Yeah.
And I just like hear you saying the same joke a million times, and then it's like in my head that's like, oh yeah, that's one of Wes's favorite jokes right now because he says it all the fucking time. And it's like really, it has nothing to do with him. I have to remind myself, no.
Like he literally just said that once.
Yeah, he said that one time.
I've just heard it from 3 different
Yeah,
cameras.
dude.
You and
You.
you and
And
even you.
And even you. Dude.
So what about music? Have you listened to anything interesting this week?
So, Kaylee and I recorded our ThoughCraft podcast
Yeah.
this morning. And this episode, we actually did, we listened to a whole album by Aurora called My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend.
By Aurora?
By Aurora.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just basically did like a track-by-track breakdown of like what it made us feel and what it meant to us to listen to. And I'm just going to go ahead and recommend that album. Like, it looks like her kind of wrapped up like a mummy on the cover.
Yeah.
And she's got like moth wings. And the whole thing is kind of exploring like the combination of like good and bad feelings at the same time.
Yeah.
So you'll have like a lot of songs that feel really sad, but then the chorus is really uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's a really good album.
What kind of music is it? Like
I would call it like
it's like pop music?
yeah, it's poppy. I would kind of call it like electronic folk music.
Okay.
Because she's from Norway, and so she has like kind of those like Celtic, Irish kind of folky type of sounds.
Right.
You know, like when I think of a folk metal band, you know, like and they play like the hurdy-gurdy and stuff. Like
Yeah,
those
yeah.
types of sounds, especially melodically, like is what she goes for. And yeah, so it's just like a type of music that we don't have a lot of.
Right.
But she's a wonderful singer, and like she's 22. She recorded the album when she was 19, and like all of the concepts are about like, you know, just that feeling of like wanting to run away from things, and then also at the same time feeling like you can conquer it whenever you feel so good whenever like you finally get over that thing that's been like scaring you in your life, and like it's just like all of these constant like. You're following her into sadness and then back out into being okay and then back in and back out the whole album.
Right.
And it's just a wonderful album. And we listened to the deluxe version, and like she even has this one track that near the end on the deluxe album that's like super artistic and like academic. I think my main note on it was this track is not a jam,
Yeah.
but I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's just really interesting, and like she's somebody that I think will continue to get really popular over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Scandinavia, my music comes from that this week too.
Even better.
I've been listening to Wardruna all week.
Oh my gosh,
which is
dude.
phenomenal. Like, I mean, I've listened to them before, but this week I couldn't get them out of my head. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim recently, so instead of listening to the music that goes with Skyrim, just listening to Wardruna makes everything way cooler. Because it's basically just it's Norse, like it's like Norse pagan music.
Yeah.
And like and so it's just this like kind of like all of these ambient noises and like old style drums, and it's very primitive and stripped down, and I really like it.
Interesting.
And I've been listening to the let me see if I can pronounce this correctly. It's Runayad Ragnarok, and it actually it's an album that's based to like all of the different like Nordic gods.
Okay.
Like, so they do something different each time. Like, one of their albums was based in all of the magical runes. The other one was based in like something else and stuff like that. And this one is all based in like the names of the Nordic gods and everything. And so songs about these different gods and deities.
That's so cool, dude.
So
like that's something that I'm really interested in right now is like taking like, okay, we like as a society, a lot of our art, so like poems, stories, movies, music, all of these things, like even like oral tradition stories,
Right.
all of this stuff, even paintings, they feature like mythological beings, or ideas and deities and symbols. All of these things that are like from somewhere beyond the touchable realm.
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking a lot more about that. Like, what are some of the coolest modern mythologies that have only existed, let's say, since the year 2000, or since the year, like, let's say since, like...
So we're talking about, like, just
20
urban legends that have become kind of prevalent and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, anything that is, like, untangible myth. So, like, to me, Skyrim is an untangible mythos.
Okay.
Like, we can't touch it. You can interact with it.
Yeah.
But it's like this whole mythos that you can learn about that really isn't, like, affecting, like, your day-to-day life.
So, yeah, like different worlds that basically have their own kind of, like, mythos and things that you can interact with and learn the lore and everything of, but...
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because, because, like, all, like, the stories of Greek gods and, like, like, we have all of the old, like, the Odyssey and the Iliad or whatever.
Yeah.
All of those things. We've had those forever, and we've had that concept forever. And then, like, I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Amadeus, there's the scene where Mozart's trying to convince all of the other composers why he wants to write this piece about the marriage of Figaro.
Right.
Because they think it is, like, about social classism.
Well, no ballets either.
Yeah, and no ballets either. You can't have the ballet. Not
in France.
Not in my
or no,
opera.
it's in Austria.
Yeah.
France is allowed to have ballets. Austrians don't do ballets, apparently, according to that movie.
Yeah, well, that king didn't like them.
Yeah, he didn't like them.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he basically says, like, what's the point of continuing to write on and on and on and on and on and on about these guys?
Yeah.
And not doing anything new. And I've always really kind of latched onto that. And so that's what
I mean, I love Skyrim's. Like, I've been watching a lot of things on Skyrim's lore.
Dude.
Just because apparently I've gotten obsessed again.
It's easy to do.
Outside of that, I really like... what is it? I think that I've been watching a show that is on Netflix. I can't remember who the host is and stuff like that. But it's basically this one guy's interview with another man who is just basically talking about why the modern era needs mythologies.
Yeah.
Like every mythologies from around the world. It just explains who we are essentially as humans. And the idea of a mythos. And it goes back to the idea, like, I think the reason I like it so much is it connects with American gods a lot.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to American gods, I love the new mythos that they're building in that.
Yeah.
With the idea of, like, the old gods are at war with these new gods. Gods like technology, the internet, media, Mr. World. I think that kind of stuff is really interesting to me because that gives the idea of a new mythos. Like, the idea that, like, almost like a topla where we've wished it into existence and now it's a real thing.
Right.
You hear that a lot of times when it comes to the idea of Slender Man, like is he real? Isn't he real? Is there a topla kind of thing? You see that all the time in writings where the idea to make Slender Man real in your actual reality is to, or like in your story. Like, how do you explain how Slender Man's real in your story? Either he's always existed, or the idea of you take the mythos itself and go, he's been built so much that so many people now know his name that he becomes a reality itself.
Right.
And he now stalks the land kind of thing.
Okay.
Which is a terrifying source, but it's great for story building.
Dude, it totally
because
is.
it gives a clear background and beginning.
Well, and plus,
and
I mean, also, like, especially with the show American Gods, like, doing that, it really kind of goes to show, like, you're actually seeing these characters of mythos and how they affect the world of people played out physically, but it's almost like a direct metaphor for the way the religions themselves influence their own believers and the way those believers interact.
And it gives a breakdown of what does humankind find important.
Yeah.
So it's like, obviously, do gods come first and then make things important, or are things important and thus they need gods?
Right.
And so the idea of the internet or like technology, like Techno Boy and stuff like that, is we have always had technologies that's constantly building, but now we're so into it now that it's become its own particular god.
Definitely.
In itself.
Because we're spending so much time into the microphone or
Right.
with the computer
Or with the camera.
or watching TV
Yeah.
or surfing Facebook,
or
all-
on a tablet.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. We've got so
Technology,
many
dude.
idols in here. We're idolaters.
Yeah. And by the way, if you haven't thought about it before, technology can be anything. Anything that isn't natural. So like this table is a piece of technology that we developed
An
as
archaic one.
yeah, it's definitely archaic, but like technology,
But yeah.
we think about it as electronics now. But
Yeah.
anything that is like a tool that we've come up with or something we have put together
Right.
is a type of technology. And like, so you can kind of think about like we've been progressing from having no clue how to do anything to I bet I could hit something with that rock and kill it. And
Sure.
that being a tool.
I was-
And like now we're here.
I was watching the history of Kunk on Britain the other day.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I love Philomena Kunk,
Yeah.
and me and Chloe started watching it, and she said she was talking about the Stone Age, and she's like, we look at these tools that they made out of stone, and they look like utter garbage and they're useless. But back in the day, these were cutting edge because they could cut edges. And,
Yeah,
I
right.
thought it was hilarious.
Exactly.
I love everything. Like I love how she spins words and everything like that. Like
She's like epitomizes like my favorite part about British humor.
right.
Is like the super dry delivery. And like I love how she's kind of like playing the fool, like the idiot the whole
Right.
time. But like she still acts as if she's the one that's like obviously right the entire
Right.
time. And so there's just this crazy like level of dramatic irony to where it's like this is only funny because of how unaware her character is of her own ignorance.
Right.
Which it just makes it, I don't know, like it makes it worth watching.
Oh
to
yeah,
me- to me.
absolutely.
Because at first like that really she got on my nerves. I didn't like her at first.
Yeah.
But you brought her up enough and you showed me a bunch of different ones and I was like, all right, she's really funny.
She just hit me at like a weird right point where I'm just like, all right, I love everything that she just did.
Yeah, dude, and like I'm really into it now. I think she's hilarious.
Yeah, she's great.
Philomena Kunk, if you're watching this, we would love to have you on the podcast.
I just want to talk to you, yeah, like, and have you rip apart American society. Although there were. Have you seen like her cartoon or her commercials for Great Britain Airways or something? I think
No.
like that. She does like 5 of them, and it's called British Famous.
Okay.
And like basically she goes, "This is Philomena Kunk. She's famous, but only in Britain." And so she tries to do things that Americans do to become famous instead of just British famous. It's hilarious.
That sounds okay. So what's an example of something you have to do to become American famous?
Be a foodie was one of them.
Okay, yeah.
And stuff like that. So she takes like these different parts of American society that are really big trends and then tries to make them as best as she can. Like, or tries
That's
to do the
hilarious.
things as best as she can.
That's awesome. Man, she is so clever. Like, I'm so glad we have people in entertainment that are like thought-provoking and like smart and really putting out quality work right now. Like, I feel like we're just in this whole renaissance of art and like media explosion where so many people now have like a platform to put something they're working on, and so like so much more art is being created probably every day now than has ever been created in history.
Sure, yeah.
That like
Well, and it can be obtained by everyone now.
yeah, dude. Like, I could take a picture, do my photo editing, put my, like filters on it, and then I could publish it, so to speak, onto my Instagram and like my however many followers. Like, let's say I have 1,000. That's 1,000 people who now have an alert on their phone that I just posted a piece of art.
Right, yeah.
And like, I can do SoundCloud. We're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's weird to see like just the weird places in the world that everyone winds up listening to us. Never in my life did I think I would be heard in that many places.
I mean, well,
Even if it's just a one-off, like I
Right,
didn't
well,
think that
yeah.
I would be heard there.
dude, think about let's say 50 years ago.
Right.
Like, you were like, if you made a single track, like if you tried to do what we're doing now without a radio broadcast tower to record for people,
Right.
you would record it and press it onto a single 40 like record,
Yeah.
and then that record might be produced as this is one episode of Waking the Kraken,
Right.
and then like only the people who physically come into contact with it now get to hear it. But instead, it's now like, oh, you want to listen to a podcast? You open up your phone, you've got 1 million apps that all have 1 million suggestions.
And I have 1 million podcasts on there now.
Exactly, dude. And like, so like, it's just crazy. Like, the access to it is wild. By the way, everybody who's been watching us overseas, like, mind blowing. Every episode, dude.
I get it's almost insane to see where people come from.
I mean, weren't you telling me that there's like a couple websites that have like our descriptions and stuff of like
Yeah,
translated.
there's like a German one that I found and stuff like that had like all of our episodes that I had written in English like translated into German and stuff, which was, I don't know if I'm sure we're not speaking in German. No one's taken the time to voice this over.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is like their description was in it. And it was just weird. Like when I typed it in under like Google, I was like Waking the Kraken, and it was like, I think it was on the second or third page when I was looking through things and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's insane. That's crazy that there's that someone did. I'm sure it's like a robot that translated and it sounds super jank, but it's still just crazy to see.
Yeah, that's true. Like, because I've actually been wanting to look up and try to find that one. I need to do it because I have enough German skill, from taking 4 German classes basically, that like I can at least look at a paragraph and discern what's going on and decide if the context is right, like if their grammar is good.
I took 3 years of it in high school.
Oh yeah,
like, yeah.
Dang, you probably did way better at it than I did.
I mean, I did. It took 3 years, and then I took Latin, so I just went completely the opposite way. Like,
Yeah, see, I took German 1 twice, and then I took German 2 twice.
yeah, I took German 1, 2, and 3. So,
Yeah.
But my teacher also didn't want to talk to us in English after the first week, so I actually like learned a lot just by being engrossed in it for an hour and a half every day.
Yeah, see, ultimately that's the way it should be done. Like, I just wanted to. I was like, can I just move to Germany for like the semester and
Just
like
learn it?
And just learn it. Yeah.
That's actually what he did.
Who did?
Like my teacher that was German, like
Oh, really?
how he learned German was he actually he went over to Germany to go to college. He didn't know any German, and he lived in the attic of this one lady's house. And so she would help him like understand his homework when he didn't quite understand things, but he just picked it up by being around it constantly.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to do it, dude. It's how we learn English.
Yeah.
You're just around it constantly. And honestly, that's the way we should learn how to do music too.
Just be around it.
Dude, yeah, just play music with people. It's all the same, right?
I mean, I assume so. It's just a matter if you feel like you work well with them or not.
It's a way of speaking, I guess.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, I think
I was gonna say we had a pretty good episode today.
Yeah. Once again, I'm Wes Potts.
I'm Alex Kahneman.
Thanks for joining us.
You guys have a great day. I'll
Bye.
see you next week.
Okay, goodbye.